Next item is item number 6, application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, docket number 13-3383, block 1392, lot 111, 15 to 17 East 77th Street in the Upper East Side Historic District. 2 neo-Greek style row houses designed by John G. Prague and built in 1878. This is an application to combine the 2 row houses, alter the front and rear facades, construct rear yard and rooftop additions. And this was initially read into the record on July 8th and is being presented for the first time today.
Good morning, Commissioners. Hillary Paget, Preservation Department staff. This property is located on the north side of East 77th Street between 5th Avenue and Madison Avenue here. The 1940s tax photographs of the 2 buildings show them within the row. Note that the historic oriel windows details differ very slightly, and the stoop was removed and a ground floor entrance and enfraintment was installed at 15 East 77th Street by this time. Current photographs show the buildings in their context on the block, and after changes were made to 17 East 77th Street here, the stoop had been removed, and ground floor entrance and enfraintment was installed. Additional photographs show the existing conditions of the rear of the building. The top photograph here shows the top 2 floors of the building, and the bottom photograph shows the side of one of the extensions. The applicant is proposing to combine the 2 row houses and areaways and reconstruct both buildings' deteriorated oriel windows based on existing details and the historic photographs. At the rear facade, the applicant is proposing to demolish existing rear yard extensions, reconstruct the rear facade, construct a new masonry extension, and garden structure at the ground floor. The applicant's also proposed installing a new rooftop stair bulkhead, terraces, and railings, which will not be visible from the street. The architect is here to present the application.
Hi. Hello. Hold on 1 second.
Sorry, we look for the hearing?
Sorry? Yeah, hello.
Can you state your name, please, again?
Rahman Dadun, my name. My clients have bought this building in 2010, and with the intention of joining them and creating high-quality dwellings on 6 floors.
Can you speak up? We can't hear.
Yes.
Speak a little louder.
Can't hear you. Oh. The intention of my clients is to join the 2 buildings and create high-quality dwellings. We're starting with the front facade. We have the intention of remodeling it, or rather restore it to its original state. We will dealing with the oriels, we will redo the oriels because of the wood inside is rotten. We're changing the windows. We are also renovating the rooftop crown. And this is it for the facade. In fact, we're trying to get as close as we can to the original facades. And the white one, this number 17, will be stripped and realized in the same brown color as the original. You have here a rendering showing the 2 in the same brown color. The crown frame will be in black, painted black. The railing will be dropped to the standard height, and the 2 oriels will be as the original.
So you'll retain the
Exactly.
2 separate designs?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry to clarify.
Yeah, you have here a drawing of the 2 as they were built in 1878. This one is more ornate, and this one is more quiet, let's say.
And you're going to retain that difference?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So make sure.
Now, in terms of the rear yard extension, we should rather talk about the rear yard harmonizing the floor plate and harmonizing the appearance of the rear yard, because right now, our rear yard has parts that sticks out, and the parts that are recessed, and the parts are bay windows. We want to demolish that and create a straight front on a line of 30 feet. Our rear yard facade is going to be a straight, aligned with the 30-foot setback, whereas right now you can see that it checks in and out. We want to be level here, and we're setting back only on the last level to connect with the top control.
So in that drawing that you've shown us the section and you've shown a bigger envelope, is that what the existing envelope is, and then you're
Here.
cutting that back?
This part is existing.
Okay. And what is that gray shade that you have that's running at the top?
Here,
Yes.
this is the roof.
The white, okay.
The roof
What's the
is-
original roof?
That's the original roof.
The original roof is the one that's slanting? Okay, so the shaded portion is what?
Are you adding?
So
Are
you're
you adding?
you're
Are you
flattening it
increasing?
out.
Yeah.
But you're adding.
Oh, but you're increasing the height.
No, well, we are in a way increasing the height, but without touching the front facade.
Yes,
I
but
see.
you're
Okay.
you're straightening it, you're flattening it out, so it has the effect of increasing.
Okay.
I'm saying this is not an extension because we're really adding 830 feet out of it on 12,000 feet. Our real intention is to have a more decent flat rear elevation. On the rooftop, we have a stair bulkhead, or we can say a glorified stair bulkhead because we can use it to access the roof. And it's visible here, but it won't be in the line of sight. As you can see, the line of sight here bypasses it completely.
So the hatch is really what you're adding to the building? The hatch is gray line, that's what you're adding?
No, this is the
No,
existing.
that's what
That's
he's
what he's
removing.
This is the existing.
Why is it so thick? That's what's confusing us, I guess. It's this huge swath. What does that represent? It's like 3
Here?
feet high. Yeah.
That's
This
what
is the
you're-
original building.
Huh?
Original building.
But it's not a 3-foot thick wall. It's represented like that. That's why.
Oh, no. We did this to make it visible.
I think just,
Okay.
it's just a graphic convention, just to make it visible.
Oh.
But this exterior, this outside line is the outside envelope of the existing.
But that doesn't exist in the back.
This interior dash line doesn't really represent.
Oh, it doesn't represent
Anything. It's just
anything,
a graphic
Oh,
convention.
I see,
to make sure
okay.
it's
The
consistent.
convention is extremely confusing. Okay.
Okay, so just one other question. Now, on the windows, you're drawing on the R1? No, it's not R1. On front elevation, right, for those windows. That's the proposed, but in that one, they look the same, but you're saying that they actually will look like this, the two different ones.
Yes, you're right. On this elevation, on this rendering, the renderer has done two things similar. But when we got the tax photos after the fact, and we decided to have two different.
Okay, so although the drawing shows them the same.
Your detail elevation shows how they will be.
Yes.
Exactly.
This one, yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
That's- Yes, I have.
Yeah, on your rear elevation, the building, despite your efforts on the front elevation to maintain difference, the rear elevation makes it look like it's all one building.
This
Have you,
one.
yeah. Have you looked at how to make it read as two separate buildings?
We have, the rendering doesn't show it, but we have a reveal or construction drawing right in the center. Of course, the bottom part doesn't give it doesn't play the same game. But from the top all the way to the rear yard, the greenhouse, we have a line.
But not including the rooftop bulkhead either, right?
But you can see it on the rear elevation, this line here.
And it extends over to the, it extends to the portion of the building that's.
Where is
attached
that
as well.
page? Where is that page?
Rear elevation.
Here, it's got 4 in.
Where's that?
This picture, that's kind of the way it was originally.
Mhm. Ah, okay. Which picture were you? Photos. Closer to the front.
No, it's close to the back, it's the third, fourth from the back, just from the back.
He's talking about the photograph, the elevation. Okay, I'll find it eventually.
All right, are there any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. There are people to speak on this item. Amy Carroll?
Yeah, it could easily. Might as well.
Kelly Carroll, Historic Districts Council. With an increase of applications to combine one or more townhouses, HDC feels that it is paramount to incorporate design features that reference the original configuration of two separate buildings. In this case, the committee suggests creating a less symmetrical rear facade. For instance, the rooftop addition and rear bay currently bisect the two buildings down the middle. Arranging these features in an asymmetrical pattern as opposed to the center would better acknowledge the intervention of combining these two structures.
Thank you. Michael Hall?
Good morning, Commissioners. Michael Hall, Friends of the Upper East Side. I'd like to start by welcoming Chair Srinivasan. I know you've been here for a couple of weeks, but it's our first time testifying before you. In the matter of 15 and 17 East 77th Street, the Preservation Committee at Friends finds the proposal to be respectful of the historic details while maintaining the distinction of the front facades. The rebuilding of the oriel windows to the original plans is a commendable way to address the replacement of the decaying structures. As the copper-clad stair bulkhead structure is not visible from either the front or the rear of the building, it does not add additional height to the existing bulkhead. It is an appropriate addition. Further, we found the proposed unified rear facade to be suitable for a secondary elevation. The copper-clad winter garden structure is elegantly planned, and the removal of the current rear yard addition will have a positive impact for neighbors as well. We do, however, question the use of brick veneer surface material on the rear facade, as well as the appropriateness of using French casement windows. The Preservation Committee at Friends requests that the LPC work with the applicant to fine-tune the application before approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Community Board has also submitted their resolution in terms of the front facade. They've approved as presented. And in terms of the rear facade, they've approved it except for the colors. And then they've gotten, sorry, this, let me see what else they've said. They talked about the color of the brick, and they believe that the white brick is not appropriate color for this building or for the historic district. I don't know what the white brick,
White painted brick, maybe it's existing white painted.
I don't know what that is. And then they talked about the color of the greenhouse and bulkhead, and they've approved that. Would the applicant like to respond to any of the comments that you've heard today? Is there white brick? Please come forward if you could just speak to that issue.
Yeah, we first we were planning to have white brick
I
on
see.
the rear facade and green siding or green metal on the lower part and the high bulkhead. And when we presented that to the committee, they expressed the opinion that red brick would be better and real copper would be also be better.
Okay, that's good.
But you're replacing all the brick at the back?
Yes, it's a brand new, yes, we are.
It's all brand new.
Are there any other questions for the applicant? Okay, we can close the hearing. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, we can go into discussion. I think this is a very nice conversion and of two buildings into one building. They're retaining, particularly at the street level, they're retaining it as, it'll continue to look as two buildings. I'm happy to see that they've agreed to ensure that the oriel windows will remain as existing in their natural or historic, keeping the historic elements. And I didn't have any concerns about the rear facade. I know that Marjorie, you did, and Roberta, do you want to
We
recommend
typically
anything?
talk about how identifying it
As
the
two separate?
buildings as
Mhm.
separate buildings in some subtle way.
Okay,
So it's not atypical to have just a joint, a control
Mhm.
joint sort of between the buildings, but you don't have any kind of indicator on that little greenhouse at the top and the bottom that they are separate. So maybe there's a detail that can be made to maybe have two columns there that separate it instead of that one in the center. No, I'm just talking about the greenhouse.
Have you seen that,
Yeah,
that?
The greenhouse and the
Mhm.
rooftop addition, so they read separately. You could just do that by doubling up the colonnade, so it starts again at the middle, you know? It's something you could even do at staff level.
We can ask staff to work with them. So I think what you're saying is, at the greenhouse, since they have those single piers, you're saying maybe put a double pier, so
Right.
that, and around a joint along that?
Be two separate bay windows or something.
Yeah,
There's
there's
or
other ways to do it.
two little things on the sides instead of one big one in the middle. There's a lot
And
of
you could,
ways
I
to do
guess you could also treat the roof of that, the skylights, into two different
Yeah, so-
pieces.
No, but that's what we've been doing, is identifying the two buildings.
Right. But one thing to think about, I know that's what we've been doing, but I think they've done some of the things that it seems have been accepted by the commission, which is to have the joint, and that really runs on the main facade of the building. The greenhouses kind of could be seen as somewhat temporary or something else. Okay, Roberta, you're shaking your head.
Well, no, I think though that it's symbolic at best.
It's symbolic
But I
at
think that
best.
It is sort of like a part of how we create some memory of the historic that is no longer there. At least you would know that it was, or you might think that there were two buildings. You might think that. And so I think that's, I think that's.
I think that kind of thing is perhaps more of an issue on more pristine blocks where you really have that sense of rhythm from one building to the next. This block, from what I can see, seems so jumbled up that maybe that distinction is less urgent.
I generally feel that on the front facade, it is somewhat important. I find it much less important on the rear facade.
I'm going to say the same thing. I think there's almost a creeping scope creep here by the commission to involve itself in more detail than is really necessary, in my judgment, in the rear facades of all these townhouses everywhere. That's just a general comment.
Creep. Well, I resemble that remark.
Commission creep. All right, are we okay with the way it's shown right now, given this block is somewhat different, and while I respect the idea of trying to make sure that these buildings read as individual buildings, but it seems over here they've done what is normally accepted, except for the lower level, and very often you won't see the lower level, so are we okay, Roberta? Okay, all right. So in that case, we're not really making any changes to this. So we can read the resolution. Marjorie?
Sure. In the matter of a certificate of appropriateness for 15 to 17 East 77th Street in the Upper East Side Historic District, the application is to combine two row houses, alter the front and rear facades, and construct rear yard and rooftop additions. I recommend approval, finding that the proposed work to combine the two row houses, whose lower facades and areaways were altered prior to designation with the removal of the stoops, will maintain the two independent ground floor entrances and their reading as two buildings. That the combined areaway, featuring two sets of stairs, paving and planters, and decorative ironwork, railings, and gates, will harmonize with the variety of areaway treatments found in the streetscape. That the resurfacing of both facades to match the historic brownstone will return the facades to a condition more in keeping with their original appearance, that the removal of the party wall between the two buildings will not be perceptible from the street, that removal of the rear facades and extensions will not cause the loss of any significant architectural features, and the top floor of the rear facades will be reconstructed largely in kind at the original wall plane, maintaining a sense of the building's original volume, that the proposed rear yard addition will project substantially less into the rear yard than the existing, and will increase the central green space, which has already been substantially diminished by the large apartment buildings and large rear yard additions that make up much of the block. That the simple design of the proposed rear additions, featuring red brick cladding and multi-light windows in punched openings, with a vertical joint at the division between the two buildings and a copper-clad greenhouse at the ground level, will maintain the scale, character, and individuality of these two row houses. That although the proposed non-visible rooftop addition featuring copper cladding and multi-light glazing assemblies is combined and centered on the two buildings, its light materiality, small scale, and setback from all sides will moderate its atypical typology, and that the work will not detract from the special architectural or historic character of the building or the Upper East Side Historic District.
All in favor? Any opposed? This motion is passed. Thank you.